This hour by Frederick Remington, fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. Exclusive, no refrigeration, 10-year extended shelf life bacon. The thickest, meatiest center-cut bacon in the industry at fullycookedbacon.com.
The stocks discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering on acting on information, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice.
What kingdom has sent you?
The kingdom of the Most High.
Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness. Super Bowl, the World Series, they don't know what pressure is. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute, you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next, boom, your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
The Genesis Communication Network is proud to bring you Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week elf, Mark Leibovit, welcoming you on board his financial time machine. And here is the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's Saturday, June 24th. Welcome to Wall Street Raw. And we have a busy show for you, as I always try to do, with a lot of interesting guests. We have an interesting week next week. It's the week before the big 4th of July weekend, so there's going to be a little bit of slowdown of volume patterns. We had Russell rebalancing on Friday, and we'll have a little discussion about that later in the program. Today we have Henry Weingarten joining us, Dan Nichols from MJIC, Ralph AGATHER from the Russell Index Group. Don VIALOUX is going to be with us, Sinclair and Craig Smith is going to be back. So let's go on to our first guest on this Saturday morning. Welcome back, my good friend and regular guest here on Wall Street Raw, Don VIALOUX, who was the past president of the Canadian Society of Technical Analysts, and most notably, I feel he was an advisor to the Horizon Seasonal Rotation ETF between 2009 and 2015, and this is really his specialty, seasonality, as he publishes timingthemarket.ca and equityclock.com. Good morning, Don. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Mark.
So we have interesting stories, as we always try to cover on your segment every week. Let's talk a little bit about Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, nice trade by Berkshire Hathaway last week. The company completed a bailout of Canada's Home Capital Group. That's a mortgage lending company that ran into regulatory problems. Now, Berkshire provided a $2 billion line of credit and purchased a 38% interest in Home Group Capital at $10 per share, total value of $400 million. The stock quickly moved higher on the news, trading above $20. Nice little double for Berkshire Hathaway.
Nice move. That's great in 1 week. Let's talk a little bit briefly what's going on with Canadian resources. Copper starting to uptick here a little bit. Gold's popping up a little bit. What's your sense?
We had a nice uptick in zinc prices during the latter part of this week, and that's pretty encouraging. We've seen a nice pop in the stocks like Lundin Mining, Hudbay Mining, and Teck also. That sector seems to be bottoming, and again, it's a China story. The base metal stocks and the base metal commodities seem to have bottomed, and we're starting to get a bit of a bounce in that sector right now.
What's your view of the Canadian dollar here? We have about a minute left on. I know we had a little volatility here in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, there's been some good news. We had some good news on our economy this last week. That gave an initial pop in the Canadian dollar, but then we had some additional negative economic news in the latter part of the week, and the Canadian dollar came under some pressure. So it's quite volatile right now. But there isn't really a strong trend one way or the other.
Any predictions?
Yeah, historically, as you get into the summertime, the Canadian dollar has a history of moving lower relative to the U.S. dollar. So that hasn't come through yet, but let's pay very close attention to it.
Great. Thank you, Don. As always, we enjoy having Don on the show. Don VIALOUX from equityclock.com or timingthemarket.ca, and we'll have Don back next week. Have a great weekend, Don. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
Welcome back a good friend and regular guest here on Wall Street Raw, Dan Nichols from the MJIC Marijuana Index, and he's CEO of that index and helped create it. And if you're not familiar with the Marijuana Index, it's a group of stock indices that track the top cannabis stocks in the U.S. and Canada. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Well, we both know that the cannabis marijuana stocks have been experiencing a bit of a correction here in recent weeks, and I'm sure our listeners would like to, many of which do subscribe to my Cannabis Vice newsletter, would like to hear from you and get an explanation of why you think we've had a correction and what your forecast might be going forward.
Yeah, it's been definitely a rough last 4 or 5 months. Certainly looking at the index, you can see, there's a huge jump in the fall for the November elections. I think the U.S. index went up 200%. The Canadian index was up about 150%. And, so far in 2017, it's, been a downward trend, losing some of those gains that we had in the fall. But, we're still seeing a lot of substantial progress in, both states in the U.S., whether it's Nevada or California, as well as, Mexico just passed medical this week they announced a new law for that. So, there's definitely progress with the individual states, and, Canada's a shining star. But, the stocks have struggled a bit, and it's hard to predict when, we'll see a turnaround. A lot of, especially in the U.S., a lot of stocks are over-the-counter, and so they're mostly retail investors, and so it's hard to say in terms of, summer vacations and a summer slowdown, how that might impact those OTC stocks. But, we're definitely seeing positive movement with the, states and their laws themselves.
Is there one big story that you're looking for coming up? I know we have a couple senators that are trying to get federal law changed in the U.S. Is that something that we're counting on or hoping for?
Well, of course we're hoping for it. I'm not holding my breath, just given, I've been in the industry about 3 years now, and it's we've seen this come up time and again, and at some point it will happen, and, the federal laws will open up, but, I'm not too optimistic at this point. I think it may still take a little more time, but frankly, that gives more time for some of these smaller companies. It gives them time to develop and grow. As soon as those federal laws open up, you're going to see a huge wave of consolidation and, new, larger companies enter the market that could threaten some of these stocks that, people regularly trade.
If our listeners want to get more information, where would they go, Dan, to learn more about what you do in your company?
Yeah, so our website is marijuanaindex.com. That's marijuanaindex.com. And, we track, the top stocks in the U.S. and Canada. We also have an entire list of all cannabis stocks that are traded, throughout the world. And we, cover news on those stocks, and we break it out by sector, and a lot of cool information for people to learn more about the market.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Dan Nichols from marijuanaindex.com, and we'll have him back real soon, as this is a very important and hot area for our listeners and in my business as well. Thank you, Dan. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Well, I want to thank Swiss America for joining us as a sponsor on our program. And if you want more information from Swiss America, getting their free books, Don't Bank on It, and The Secret War on Cash, I want you to call 800-289-2646 and tell them Mark at Wall Street Raw told you to call. That's 800-289-2646. I don't want you to touch your dial. We have Sinclair No coming up with a Eat the Banker segment, and that's always fascinating and exciting for us. Craig Smith with Swiss America will be joining us later in the program. Ralph Agather is going to be joining us from the Russell Index, and my good friend Henry Weingarten will be joining us later in the program as well. So we're going to keep you really on top of what's going on in the markets this week, even though we possibly have a market slowing down a little bit next week, as I mentioned earlier, with the upcoming 4th of July weekend. But index is moving toward the new high ground, so I guess we may see a rally right into 4th of July. Don't touch your dials. Stay tuned for Sinclair No.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
If you had purchased $100 of Bitcoin in 2010, today you'd have $2,600,000. While that sinks in, you now have a huge cryptocurrency opportunity trading at a guaranteed 7 cents per coin. ProCoin, a coin publicly traded in the open market, easily converted to cash, available in 60 countries, and ProCoin is the only cryptocurrency offering coin-back rewards for consumers and merchants. Take action by June 30th at ProCoinCurrency.net. That's ProCoinCurrency.net. Deadline for 7-cent guarantee is June 30th.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-557-0158. That's 800-557-0158. Again, 800-557-0158.
Love or loathe him, Donald J. Trump is our 45th president. There is no denying now that Trump will go down in history, both despised and admired. Commemorate Trump's presidency with your very own Trump Silver Bust from TrumpSilverStatue.com. This museum-quality heirloom Trump Silver Statue bust is hand-cast from 20 troy ounces of silver, a great investment from TrumpSilverStatue.com. Loathed or loved, own a valuable piece of Trump's legacy. Get your solid silver Trump bust today at TrumpSilverStatue.com.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's MyPillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise at gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Think big. Think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem.
Welcome back to the Wall Street Raw Radio Show with Mark Leibovit, your time machine for the financial markets. Want to know more? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com. Now, here's the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Welcome back, my good friend, regular and special guest from KFNN 1510 Phoenix and author of the great blog EatTheBankers.com, Sinclair No. Welcome, Sinclair.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. Always a pleasure.
Well, in today's edition of Banks Behaving Badly, we always like to start off there because of the great EatTheBankers.com column. We had read that Barclays and 4 former executives were charged with conspiracy to commit fraud during the bank's 2018 capital raising from Qatar as it sought to avoid a bailout. These guys really do stuff like this?
Yes. Surprisingly, they did. This is a bit of a strange story. It goes back to the 2008 bailouts, which took place here in the U.S., but also over in Europe as well, and particularly in the U.K. There were several British banks that were on the verge of folding as well, needing bailouts. And they've gone back, and it appears that, and by the way, this is the first time that we've seen 4 senior executives of a major British bank charged criminally like this. I mean, this includes the former CEO, John Varley, former chairman of the investment banking for the Middle East, the ex-wealth chief, former European head of the bank's financial institutions group. We're still learning some details on this, but it appears that Barclays gave Qatar a loan, and then Qatar made what was presented as an equity investment to regulators. Qatar got a fee for going along with the ruse. Barclays avoided a bailout. They got essentially a line of credit and some money injected in from Qatar, the oil-rich little nation over in the Arabian Gulf, which is, by the way, going through some problems right now of its own.
I mispronounced their name. I called it Qatar. I'm sorry.
And I've heard it pronounced different ways, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
Qatar. But anyway, the whole point behind all of this is like, well, what's the problem? Why is this problematic? Barclays was in line for a bailout from the British government at the time, as several other banks were. What they did was they did this deal on paper to make it look like they had backing, when in fact they really didn't have much backing. And the whole reason for it was that the senior executives didn't want to give up their bonuses.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Well, the big story this week, besides the banks behaving badly, is a lot of jawboning coming from the Federal Reserve members from all over the place. I don't even know where to get started, but one in particular was interesting was James Bullard, Loretta Mester, and Jerome Powell all kept the news waves busy this week with speeches from all over the place. But Bullard told the Wall Street Journal that the rate of trajectory for the FOMC as laid out, he seems, is unnecessarily aggressive, and the balance sheet unwind should start sooner rather than later. So what do you make of that?
It seems contradictory that he thinks that the interest rate trajectory is going too fast, but let's go ahead and cut back the balance sheet at the same time. Well, okay, he's got a different approach on how he thinks this should all unwind and the effects it may have. We also heard from Eric Rosengren. He's the Boston Fed president. He said lower rates may be a more permanent feature of the economic landscape because they reflect broad population trends. The demographics are changing, and so maybe we are looking at this more permanent low interest rate environment. Well, we've seen that in Japan over the past few years. We had Chicago Fed President Charles Evans saying the Fed could be done raising rates this year. Now, we've had 2 rate increases this year. The Fed has indicated that they'd go for 3, and they reiterated that after their last rate increase. They also laid out a timeline for reducing the balance sheet, all the bonds and mortgage-backed instruments that they have on their balance sheet. about $4.5 trillion. They're going to start unwinding that, but they wanted to get the interest rates up to a certain level before they started unwinding the balance sheet. Evans says, we don't need to be raising rates further here. He supports the policy of very gradual interest rate hikes and slow reduction of the balance sheet. And he says, even if that results in us exceeding the 2% inflation target, not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, right now we're not exceeding the 2% inflation target. We do not have wage push inflation. We have 4.3% unemployment rate, which sounds like full employment, but it's not enough to push up wages. That may go back to what Rosengren was talking about, this being a demographic phenomenon, a change in population trends to where we're not going to be seeing inflation from a tight labor market. And then New York Fed President William Dudley, he took a fairly hawkish tone, argued against slowing the pace of interest rates. Federal Reserve Vice Chair Stan Fisher said he has worried memories might be fading about the role of the housing market, and said housing prices are very high now. They're rising in many different places, and that might be a result of an extended period of low interest rates. In other words, he's worried that the Fed is creating yet another bubble, which is, what the Fed does.
Sinclair, we ran out of time. Sinclair, no. KFNN 1510 Phoenix, north of the block, eatthebankers.com. Thank you again, Sinclair. We'll have you back next week, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of banks behaving badly stories to talk about.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Thank you again, Sinclair, for joining us. Wild week this week, again in the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency market. We've been trading GBTC, which is a Bitcoin investment trust. But on my website, if you go to vrtrader.com, we have a link to literally 100 cryptocurrencies that have been trading out there. And midweek, we had a little bit of a crash intra-week with Ethereum, which is the second biggest cryptocurrency. And if we have time, we'll talk about that later in the show. But I'm writing it up in my newsletter this coming week. It dropped down from $319 all the way to 10 cents and then back up again. So besides gold moving up this week, a lot of interest in the alternate investment world, being both gold, silver, and to a great extent the cryptocurrency. So really interesting opportunity there for those who want to take advantage of. Some, in fact, IRAs are now investing in the cryptos. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the break with our good friend Henry Weingarten.
Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
My friend, for years, Swiss America and I have been warning about the unsafe world of modern banking, in which merely holding cash might be a crime. Today, if you decide to withdraw cash, be prepared to explain why or fill out forms. So why are honest citizens suddenly being treated like criminals? That's the subject of two complimentary Swiss America special reports, The Secret War on Cash and The 10 Consequences of a Cashless World. Why don't you call Swiss America now for these free reports? 800-289-2646. Again, 800-289-2646. Does a cashless world concern you? It ought to. New government capital controls are targeting citizen savings and retirement funds. Take it from Pat Boone. These reports will explain what you can do about it. Call 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-765-9681 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-765-9681. Again, that's 800-765-9681.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the Internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
For P150, P150GA, P150NY, P150OK, P150TN, C250A, C250E, C250Q. Not available in all states. If New York or Colorado, call for a similar offer.
What's the scariest thing about going to the dentist? Opening your mouth or opening your wallet? Because just a simple cleaning can cost $100, and things like root canals can cost you hundreds more. If you don't have dental insurance to help, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company, 1-800-656-9775. This isn't a discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps pay for checkups right away. So you can call today and get your teeth cleaned tomorrow. Plus, it helps cover the more expensive procedures you might need down the road. Fillings, crowns, bridges, even costly dentures. There's no deductible and no annual maximum. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired. There are no networks, so you can choose any dentist you'd like. Call now for a free information kit with all the details. 1-800-656-9775. That's 1-800-656-9775. 1-800-656-9775.
Anything that is thy neighbor.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw. Want to know more about Wall Street Raw and the Leibovit VR newsletters? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com.
Welcome back on this Saturday morning. Our good friend Henry Weingarten from the Astrologers Fund. And if you want to reach Henry, you go to afund.com. Henry's been doing this about 50 years, and he's one of our great regular guests with some great market calls, and we always enjoy having him on the program. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning. Well, see, right now I'm already on July 4th holidays, and so is the market. So we don't expect too much.
Don't we rally into the 4th of July traditionally? Don't we have a seasonal pop?
We could. And if we do, and I'm certainly not against that because I'm a Trump bull, as you know. However, we start getting into some NASDAQ possibilities. So the NASDAQ's getting a little toppy, so you could hedge, being long the Dow and short NASDAQ. But as we get to through September, the NASDAQ gets increasingly risky. Now, you have to be careful on shorts I recommend hedging. So on one hand, I think the markets are going to have a little baby correction. I don't mean 10%. I mean like 3 to 5%, maybe a little bit more. But we're still bullish, so you have to watch it accordingly. We're happy gold did very well at our 1244 buy, which is so far perfect, and we hopefully it will go back up to 1300. But there's some risks, and there's risks in August, there are risks in July, and there are risks in September. So you have to watch it. If you've got good profits, you got to lock it in, or you've got to hedge it. On the other hand, if you don't and you ignore it, some of your profits will go away, but you'll still be in great shape.
We talked off air about the Dow possibly still targeted a bit higher this summer. Where do you see the Dow possibly going?
I think we could get, we knew we were going to get to 21.5. I think when it gets to 21, approaches 21.8, which means 21.670 to 750, then it's in our sell zone. Basically, the S&P is in our sell zone at 24.40 at tops. The NASDAQ at 6250 plus is in the sell zone of the 6500. And once we get to 21.5 again, but to 21.8, that's sort of our sell zone. But it's not an aggressive sell. It's just like lock it in, hedge it. Because, again, Trump's going to have a very great year, and there's going to be some rallies in that. That doesn't mean we're not going to have some issues beforehand, but the risk is high, the valuation is high, but on the other hand, there'll be more rallies. So how do you want to play it? You know, you can sell it and go away, or you can hedge yourself.
Well, speaking of Trump, he came out yesterday with a very bullish comment for solar stocks because of the wall and his solar idea. Any thoughts about that?
I think he likes to surprise people. I thought it was a wonderful comment. And look, he's not against solar energy. You know, he's so misinterpreted. It's unbelievable. But basically he's for all sorts of energy. I don't agree with the nuclear part personally, but he's for everything. So, and his coal stuff is a little bit silly because it's not going to do well because coal's too expensive. But on the other hand, he just wants U.S. production of anything. And I think you're going to see more and more factories opening up here and more situations. You know, some will balance out. But that's one of the reasons we're very bullish on the economy. Less regulation. They're going to pass the tax thing relatively soon. And that should be a rally, I would think. I don't think people are going to sell that news. That's always possible that they might. But I think more likely they're going to rally on that information.
Any quick thoughts on copper? That's been turning up a little bit here, and that's related to the economic recovery, too. Anything?
Copper's all right, but mainly copper we're more bullish on in 2018, second half of 2018, 2019. That's when it really shines. I mean, it's okay if you're bottom fishing. Most things are okay if you're bottom fishing. For example, oil 40 to 42 is clearly a bottom, and 80% chance, but the big rally is not till fourth quarter. So it depends on how you like to play it. So, yeah, I think most things that are down are up, with the exception of things like Bitcoin or Ethereum. You know, we don't like those, but they're going to go up and down like yo-yos.
Thank you, Henry. Talking to our good friend Henry Weingarten from the Astrologers Fund. Again, if you need to reach Henry, go to afund.com, and we really appreciate his comments every week. Thank you, Henry. Have a great weekend.
My pleasure.
Welcoming a special guest on this Saturday morning on Wall Street Raw, Ralph AGATHER, who is a Managing Director of North American Research with FTSE Russell. That's FTSE Russell, which is a global index provider. And Ralph's going to be a speaker at the IMN Global Indexing and ETF Conference in Dana Point next week on Monday, and I'll be attending that conference as well. And thank you for joining us, Ralph.
You're welcome, Mark. It's great to be here.
Tell our audience a little bit quickly. We have a very short segment, who Russell is, and apparently on Friday was a big rebalancing day for the Russell indexes. Let's talk about that.
Yes, well, Russell has been calculating the Russell family of indexes since 1984, and so this is that time of year when we do what we call the rebalance or the reconstitution. And basically what we do is we look at all the U.S. stocks that are trading in the markets. We measure them by their size, which is just the shares outstanding times their price, and then we rank those stocks from the largest to the smallest. And so we actually take the largest 3,000 stocks, and that becomes the Russell 3000 index. And so that's designed to measure the U.S. market. We then look at the top 1,000 stocks, and those become the largest stocks, the large cap index. The next 2,000 stocks then is the Russell 2000 index. So this is the process where we actually recreate the membership for our large cap, small cap, and broad market index. It actually ends up being the largest trading day of the year.
Yes, I was going to mention that. The press is talking about how it reliably boosts trading during the day.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, if you think about it, since the month of May, we actually are indicating to the marketplace the rules that we're going to use. So a lot of investors and traders actually can anticipate and make their own calls on which stocks will come into various indexes. So when the day actually happens, it's pretty well anticipated. It's one of the biggest trading days in the market, but it's also one of the most orderly.
Ralph, we have about 60 seconds, so tell us a little bit about what the presentation Monday at IMN is going to be all about.
Well, I think, obviously there's a lot of money following passive indexes nowadays, and there's been some articles recently suggesting that maybe it's too much of a good thing. So there's a lot of people questioning or writing editorials about whether, if we have too many people following index funds, then nobody's going to be there to make sure companies are fairly valued. So I expect us to have some real robust discussion about the downsides and potentially the upsides of passive investing relative to active investing.
Thank you, Ralph. So Ralph Agather will be at the IMN Global Indexing and ETF Conference in Dana Point, California. It actually starts Sunday, and he's presenting on Monday, and his presentation is called Triumph and Trouble, and I look forward to seeing him there. And again, if you'd like to attend, please contact IMN directly at their website and or come to Dana Point. Thank you, Ralph, for joining us, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you do have an opportunity to get out to Dana Point, California, and I'll be heading out there later today, Saturday, it is an interesting ETF conference. It used to be called the Super Bowl of Indexing. So if you're into market indexing, and we've learned over time, holding the S&P and holding some of the major indexes, in many cases turns out to be your best investment, as many managers are unable to actually beat the indexes. So holding just the indexes, even though there's been big volatility like we saw during the financial crisis and so forth, for many investors has actually turned out to be the best course. So that's just one interesting place to go, and I'll be hosting a panel there on Sunday. Of course, we still have more coming on the program. We have our good friend Craig Smith from Swiss America going to be joining us here after the break, so I don't want you touching the dial there. And if we have a little time, we'll go over some of the major market moves from this past week, some of the big price moves up and down. Don't touch your dial. Thanks for tuning in to Wall Street Raw.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. Here, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market tsunami. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required, and no one will call. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw report and Gold News Raw report at wallstreetraw.com.
If food became scarce, would you be able to feed yourself and your family? Have you found some emergency food supplies can cost upwards of $300 for a month's supply? And worst of all, they're packed with chemicals and other unpronounceable ingredients. At NorthwestFork.com, our mission is to provide you with food that's not only healthy and natural, but also affordable. At NorthwestFork.com, for only $127, you can order meals that are naturally high in fiber, carbs, and protein, packaged in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for superior shelf life. For a limited time only, your order ships free free. But that's not all. Enter promo code PREP10 to receive 10% off your entire order. Call 800-700-2184 today. NorthwestFork.com keeps prices low by buying directly from suppliers in the Pacific Northwest, then passing the savings to you. Go to NorthwestFork.com or call 800-700-2184 for the most cost-effective and healthy food storage solution. That's NorthwestFork.com at 800-700-2184.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists, get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-557-0158. That's 800-557-0158. Again, 800-557-0158.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
There is no freedom without the law.
Get it? Got it? Good.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw and the final segment with Mark Leibovit. Now, here's the elf himself.
Welcoming back a very special guest and regular guest, Craig Smith from Swiss America Trading Corporation, an old friend of the program, and we have so much to talk about. Craig authored so many books, but the claim to fame has basically been over the years numismatics and gold at Swiss America, but on the unbelievable government attack on cash and what's going on in our country and frankly around the world. We saw it happen in India last year as well. Good morning, Craig. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark. Good to be back.
Man, they're really after cash in a big way. A bill was recently introduced on the U.S. Senate floor entitled Combating Money Laundering, Terrorist Financing, and Counterfeiting Act of 2017. And they're going after everything here. I hear even Bitcoin.
Yeah, it is truly an amazing event. It's S1241, and of course the big sections to look at are section 5312 and beyond. We had heard inklings of this when we wrote our book, Don't Bank on It, a couple of years ago. And we talked about how confiscations were occurring on a regular basis. A Christian rock band was coming home from a concert and were pulled over by the police. $15,000 of their donations were confiscated. They had to fight to get them back. We list several instances where this occurred. But this bill, Mark, puts it in black and white for every American to see that, in fact, this is happening. They're going after cash. Cash is evil. Bitcoin is evil, prepaid phone cards, gift cards. I mean, I'm going to be very fascinated to see what this does to the bottom line at Amazon, given the fact that Amazon, takes and gift cards and all kinds of prepaid cars for payment. What's the extra paperwork going to do? And, of course, the Trump administration has tried to put this thing on ice in hopes to see what the financial impacts will be. I think, A, they're going to be devastating, but for the average person, it's going to virtually eliminate your financial privacy, and this is a bill that should have been struck down, should have never been made law. And of course, it's not law yet, but if it keeps moving at the pace it is, it will be the new law.
You know, the argument among those who support cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, and there's like 50 of those out there now, they grow seemingly daily, is that, you know, cash is antiquated and we're in a world of technology now. But even so, like you say, Bitcoin is being attacked. So I'm just wondering how they expect us to conduct commerce.
No, you're right, and I actually think it's a violation of the Interstate Commerce Act. This is going to definitely cripple a lot of people. Let's face facts, Mark. If you're a stockbroker or a casino or a currency exchange, whatever, a pawn broker, a post office, precious metals dealer, name it. I mean, you basically have become an unpaid government spy under Section 5312 of U.S. Code Title 31. I mean, all those industries are going to require spying on customers. And I'm talking about average, ordinary, good, decent people who work hard for their money. They pay their taxes. If they're carrying more than $10,000 on their person, Mark, they can actually have that money confiscated. Now, they don't call it confiscation. They call it that they're taking the money into custody. Just like, you know, when they put handcuffs on you, you're not really arrested. You're taken into custody until they can decide to arraign you and so on and so forth. I mean, the language in this bill is so draconian. And it is going to have an impact. Now, look, most people don't use cash anymore. They use debit cards, credit cards. Now they have iPay and Google Pay and all these various things. But this is a clear-cut case where the government wants to see where every single penny moves, and they do it under the auspices of we're going to eliminate drug dealers and we're going to eliminate all these other people that deal in this nefarious underground world of cash. But I myself personally, this morning on the way to work, I know this sounds crazy, I felt like a sandwich for breakfast, believe it or not. So I stopped by a sandwich shop, and I pulled out a $20 bill. Well, soon, that's not going to be an option anymore if we keep moving in this direction. And this is not what America was based on. This is not what our founders had intended. And I just think it strips one more liberty away from us as Americans. But beyond that, it's going to have a dramatic impact on this economy, because if you can track every single penny, and I'm a big believer in paying your taxes and doing it properly, it's not going to only require that and demand that, it's going to make it impossible for anybody to have any type of flexibility in the way that they plan their finances.
Craig, we only have about 60 seconds. How does gold and silver play into this scenario?
Well, I think it's going to probably have a positive impact on the prices because, again, gold and silver, once you've paid for it, it is completely private if you buy the right type of product. You know, we talked about this extensively in the book, Don't Bank on It. And by the way, your listeners can always get a complimentary copy of that book. They just call the 800-289-2646, mention Mark's program, Wall Street Raw, and we'll send a complimentary copy out. If you read the book, Don't Bank on It, which we wrote 2 years ago, it predicted this law was going to be beyond the books. I happen to believe this will pass, maybe not in its current form, but it's something every American should know about, and I appreciate you bringing it to your listeners' attention.
Craig, thank you so much for taking a few moments for us on this Saturday morning. Craig Smith from Swiss America. Again, if you want more information about Swiss America, please call 800-289-2646. We're going to have Craig on back real soon. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you again, Craig. We usually go over some of the most active stocks, the big movers, in fact, point movers. And if we have time, maybe we'll do that as well. But I just want to go down the list here because this is a big revelation to me here in the last week or so. The big cryptocurrencies that are out there. And we all know about Bitcoin. It's got about $44 billion in market cap, but there's also Ethereum, which had that big crash during the week. We talked about that earlier, dropped from $350 down to 10 cents and back to $337 where it closed this week. But there's also Ripple, which has got $11 billion of capitalization, Litecoin, which has got $2 billion. Then there's Ethereum Classic, which has got about $2 billion. Then NEM, it's called, is $1.7 billion. IOTA, IOTA, $1.5 billion. Dash, $1.4 billion. BitShares, just under $1 billion, $824 million. Stratus, $788 billion. Monero, Monero, and Zcash, $579. Now this is just 12 of the 100 that are out there. And I'm getting calls this week from firms that are creating RIA accounts, retirement accounts, and allocating or just dedicated accounts for Bitcoin, or we should say really cryptocurrencies, because like I say, there's 100 of them out there. So I'm not advising you to get into the cryptocurrency world, but you may be forced into it at some point as more and more businesses accept it. And we reported here, as probably you already know, the story that Japan accepted it as a legal currency over there. So talking to Craig Smith at Swiss American, talking about what's going on with the war on cash and the war on Bitcoin. You know, this is all taking away our freedoms, folks, if they take away our ability to handle cash or even the new Bitcoin phenomenon. I know we use credit cards and checks and so forth, but the world's moving into the cyber world, so we want both of them. We don't want to lose any of them. I think it's very important. So at my website, I have a list of all these. We trade Bitcoin using a investment trust, GBTC. I mentioned that earlier. If you know the Winklevoss brothers, Winklevoss, I think is how you pronounce their name. We're trying to launch an ETF for Bitcoin about a month or two ago. The SEC turned them down, and I think eventually it will get approved. So there'll be an ETF to trade these things, just like we trade our cannabis stocks using the new ETFs that are coming on board. So a lot of opportunities out there, something we really got to pay attention to. That's what we try to do here, stay on what's really happening, what's new and exciting out there. And, of course, not too many people are talking about the Bitcoin because it's a diversion from the stock market. You're not going to hear that too much on the financial talk shows, that's for sure. Meanwhile, we got, as I mentioned earlier, we got the big 4th of July weekends a week from now, so the market's going to be responding to that during the week and probably be slowing down in terms of volume. And as we do each week this time, we close our show with our old friend Ed Hart used to say on the Financial News Network of the 1980s and 1990s, we will know in the fullness of time. Speak to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week Alph, Mark Leibovit. If you missed any of today's show or to get in touch with Mark, please go to wallstreetrawradio.com. Any stocks or investment discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. We first recommend you seek out a licensed financial professional for advice. Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week Elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. At wallstreetraw.com, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market crash. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw and Gold News Raw reports at wallstreetraw.com. That's wallstreetraw.com.
Lifetime Grazed 100% grass-fed beef has the health benefits you seek. When compared to conventional beef, it offers good fats while virtually eliminating the bad. That's the result of cattle who never eat grain, ever. Rich in antioxidants, including vitamin E, C, beta-carotene, and CLA. No artificial hormones, antibiotics, or other drugs. For all our fresh, non-cooked products with only 100% grass-fed beef, go to MidasResources.com. Use voucher code GCN to get 30% off your order. MidasResources.com or find us on Facebook.
We use cell phones against our heads every day. But now a landmark U.S. government study confirms increased health risks from exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The time to protect yourself is now. The solution is Defender Shield. Proudly made in the USA, Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation emitted from cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. Use discount code DEFENDER for 10% off. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in EMF radiation protection.